Hello everybody. Let me get our things pulled up for you. Welcome to our first actual lesson from the book. It's the environment and sustainability. Okay, trying to make sure that we can take care of the world, and some of the main things that we're looking at is how it goes. Let me go over some details about how our notes are set up, and the way I need you to get them done. Everything that I'm telling you right now is also listed on our home page in the main environmental page. It goes straight through it on the main page. But if you'll look, our blanks are set up to match the PowerPoint's word for word. Okay, it's set up to match the PowerPoint's word for word, and so you're going to need to stop clicking around and messing. So you're going to need to fill in these blanks as you go through the PowerPoint. However, some of these blanks are kind of long, and you're not going to want to do it as I'm talking. Okay, it's going to be too long. So the way that I need you to do your notes is this PowerPoint is going to be on the web page and on Schoology all by itself. All right, I want you to watch the PowerPoint or flip through it at your own pace while you fill in your notes. All right, and then once those are done all the way through, then I need you to rewatch this video, because that's also rereading your notes. You're going to check through the notes to make sure you filled everything in. You're going to check through if I add any extra notes, you'll need to mark them in. All right, so you have to have your notes filled out first on your own. So you watch the plain PowerPoint at your own pace, fill in the notes. Once that's done, then you watch this video that we're making right now. You watch the video and reread through your notes to make sure that you didn't miss anything, to add any extra information, okay? And the second rereading will help you remember better. Okay, so that's required. Fill it out first with a PowerPoint and then reread it with me teaching. All right, and then once you've done that, to get your grade for your notes, I'm going to need this very back page. All right, you're going to give me just this back page, and this is to verify that yes, you fully completed your notes, yes, you reviewed the videos that were requested, and then you reread the notes while you're watching this video. So you're going to sign there. And your parents also have a signature part to this. They need to look at your page and see that the blanks are full. Okay, that's what they're doing. They're looking at your page to see that it's full. They are sure, or they made sure, that you watched this teaching video, and then they need to just ask you if you need any help understanding. It's okay if they don't know the answer, but between you both, you can look at it, or one or the other of y'all can email me or send me a remind. But your parents have a required portion of this. All right, so the grade for your notes, and again, I'm not going to ask for this part of your notes, because that's for you to keep to study from. I just need a copy of this back page only, and that will be your verification page for your notes. And then notes are a class participation grade, which is one of the higher percentages. I want to say 35%. Not class participation. No. Classwork. It's a classwork grade, and that is the 35%. So that's the basics. And again, if you want this spelled out step by step, it's on the web page. I'm going to go ahead and start our slides. All right, so again, this is chapter 1. The environment and sustainability. And if you're hearing a little bit of buzzing with the mics, I'm sorry, it's the fans on and it's hot in here. My office door is shut because I'm recording and it's just hot. So I'm sorry for the little buzz that's going on. Okay, so chapter 1 is the idea of a realistic vision of how people can change the world. I mean, we know that the world needs to change. We know that it needs to happen. This kind of sets the stage for, well, how are we going to make it happen? Kind of gives us a blueprint, so to speak. And so the more sustainable future is going to require that we rely more on energy from the sun and other sources. The sun, when we can fix up solar for everybody, one small section of solar energy is enough to supply the whole world. Okay, we just have to find a way to tap into it. So solar is going to be the best, but then also everything else, wind especially, is the next right under solar. And then how to protect biodiversity and how to preserve natural capital. Okay, we're going to talk about what natural capital is in just a second. That doesn't make a lot of sense, but it kind of does. And then how to avoid disrupting the nutrient cycles, and that's what we're going to get into very soon. So the major goal for becoming sustainable is full cost pricing. Now, this is something that you probably have not heard of before. This is something that we are trying to push to make happen, but we're getting a lot of brick walls. Okay, well, let me explain what full cost pricing is. When you go to the grocery store, a lot of you guys know that the organic stuff costs more. All right? But it really shouldn't, because let's just think like the chicken farmers and pig farmers, and the big monoculture, like where they have corn for acres and acres, nothing but corn all over the place. Those big factory farms. They can make their prices cheaper because the government pays half of their bills. And also, they don't take into account all the cost of cleaning up the mess that they make, especially with the animal butchery shops, the horrible things that happens when all of that refuse and blood and poo and all of that stuff gets into the waterways and ruins the water. So these guys should have to, in the cost of their product, include how much it costs to clean up the world after they're done. That should be included in the price of the thing. And also, the government shouldn't pay half of their bills. They should pay their own bills. Okay, so if you take away if you add in the cost of fixing the world and you take away the cost of what the government pays for them, their price is going to come up, which means the organic farmers, because the government already does not pay their bills and they already are clean, they're not damaging the world, so they don't have to do that cleanup fee, they're actually going to be cheaper. And then people will buy the organic food. And then if everything is grown organically, we stop damaging the world. So that's what we mean by full cost pricing. You have to take into account in the cost of your product whatever fees it would cost to clean up after your mess. That's full cost pricing. So if you do it clean, there's no extra fee on top of it. If you do it crappy, dirty, gross, you have cleanup fee, right? So that should convince people to grow clean, right? Does that make sense to you? Okay, that's what full cost pricing is. If we were able to get that established, then the big monoculture farms or the big factory farms, they wouldn't be making any profit what they're doing, and they would go back to doing it the right way. And the people who are already doing it the right way would be able to compete in the market. All right, so that's the kind of stuff we're talking about for full cost pricing, and we're going to cover it several times, and we're going to mention it all through the year. Okay, so try to help me remember, try to focus in your head what full cost pricing is. Okay, but we have to commit ourselves to finding win-win solutions. If you can't have it that, I mean, if people are, one person gets good and one person doesn't, nothing's going to happen. All right, so we have to find win-win solutions and other ways to leave the life support system in condition. You know that the Earth's trees are our lungs, right? The trees are the lungs of the planet. Just like we breathe in oxygen and breathe out carbon dioxide, the trees of the planet are doing the opposite for us. They're breathing out oxygen and breathing in carbon dioxide. And so those are the life support systems. Not only that, but the water filtration and all the things that the Earth does for us, we have to keep those in good quality. There's a case study by, I don't know for sure if you guys have got your books by now. I hope you will. Okay, I hope you will have your book. Okay, so on page 16, oh, you'll have to have your book. We'll figure it out. Okay, so the Greening of America's Schools. This is a story about a school who went all in for green building design, waste recycling, repurposing, and even curricula, the stuff they were teaching that included the environmental themes. And so we want to think about, after you've read that, some other ways that maybe the businesses are increasing the energy efficiency and reducing environmental impact. A lot of the businesses are doing digital only, and they're stopped mailing, bill after bill or flyer or all of this stuff, mail all the time, and they're so reducing paper waste. There's a lot of other ideas as well. And so if there's a blank on your notes here to answer it, go ahead and give yourself an answer based on what you think and what you've learned so far. It's an opinion. All right, so, and then in the science talk portion, ideas about sustainability and what do you already know. The prompts, again, you're going to answer this in your notes. If something is sustainable, it is. I think the word green comes to mean sustainable because, just go ahead and fill those out. All right, and then next, okay. Now, this is a new thing that we're going to do with every single section, okay? If you have a book, oh, your books are digital. You can have my video on half the book and the digital book on the other half of the screen, okay? Or you can have one open on the phone, whichever. Okay, but on page 17, you're going to see these gray box, and there's going to be a gray box like this at the beginning of every section. So this is like the main overview and the main, what's the word? Reiteration, relearning, sticking the messages in your head, whatever word you want to use for that. This is where you're getting the details. All right, so what you'll do with each one of these sections is you'll copy and answer the core ideas. If it's not already a question, turn it into a question. So it says copy and answer. So we're typing everything now. We're not handwriting everything. Whatever works for you, okay? Make it happen. All right, so copy and answer. So we're not handwriting, so type it out. It's fine. And I would imagine even cut and paste is going to work because there's no way that I can stop you. It's just the question has to be there with the answer, regardless. Make it happen. The question has to be there with the answer. You have to have both. I guess, because there's nothing I can do about it one way or the other. So however you get it on there, get it on there. The question and the answer. All right, and so if it doesn't start off as a question, turn it into a question so you can answer it. You need to define all of these vocabulary terms. And again, I'm probably going to let you cut and paste. People have been doing it anyway. And then there are 4 checkpoints within the section. So if you start at the first page of section 1, and then when you get to the first page of section 2, somewhere in there are 4 checkpoint questions, and they're usually orange. There's 4 of them. So you need to copy them down and answer them. All right. Now, those of you with your digital textbook now, a lot of them are spelled out and gone through for you specifically in the digital textbook. So that will help a lot. Most of this stuff is done for you. I just need it in one page and answered and like making sense with it for you to study from as well as for you to prove to me you've got it. All right, so sustainability. Okay, so sustainability is the ability of the Earth's natural systems and human culture to survive and flourish for the long-term future. So we have to be able to have the Earth running, the Earth taking care of us, the Earth giving us the things that we need to survive for long term. So it's not just us, but it's our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren and several generations off. The Earth still has to be able to survive and still has to be able to provide the things we're going to need. So we have to put in place now things that will ensure that happens. Life on Earth has been sustained for 3.8, oh sorry, these things are so uncomfortable. Life has been sustained on Earth for 3.8 billion years by solar energy, by biodiversity, and by nutrient cycling. Okay, those are the 3 things that help keep the Earth spinning. Solar energy, of course, is going to lead to all of the other types of energy. Wind is caused by the sun. Water is moved by the spinning of the Earth, which is in turn caused by the gravity of the sun. So solar energy starts all of this stuff, all of the other types of energy. So we've been sustained for 3.8 billion years by solar energy, by biodiversity, and that means all the different types of animals working together is part of what keeps this system working. Mainly, the easiest example is animals versus plants, right? We work together, oxygen for one, carbon dioxide for the other. But there's a whole bunch of other examples of biodiversity, how the different types of animals keep the different aspects of the Earth running smooth, like decomposers getting rid of all of our trash for us so the rest of us don't have to wander around in dead bodies. See, gross that is, but you know, that's what I'm saying. The decomposers help us. So the biodiversity means all the different types of animals and plants that work together to make everything smooth. Nutrient cycling is how we get the non-organic stuff like carbon dioxide, how it gets through the system, nitrogen, how it gets through the system, potassium, like for our muscles and our teeth, and plants' leaves, they all need nitrogen and potassium. And so nutrient cycling means how do we use solar energy and all of the other information to get the nutrients through the cycle so that generation after generation can use it. The Earth is a closed system. That's what they call it. We can't make a stop at we can't stop at the asteroid belt for new nutrients, can we? Stop the Earth, we're running out of stuff. We need to go to the corner market next to Jupiter to pick up some more supplies. There's no stopping the Earth to get more stuff. All we got is all we got. All right, so it depends on the energy from the sun and the natural capital provided to the Earth. Now that's the second time I've said natural capital. What I mean by that is that just like when you say capital, there's been enough commercials for Capital One that you got the idea that it means something about money, right? Okay, so capital does mean a lot about money. Some of you guys might know already, it's fine. All right, but capital is how much money you have to work with. All right, and so if you have like capital, if you want to start a business venture or if you want to invest in something, you have to have capital in order to invest. Now, so what does this have to do with natural capital and the Earth? The Earth does not give us money. Natural capital for us can mean our paycheck, but the Earth doesn't give us a paycheck. So what would we be talking about natural capital? Well, the Earth sort of does give us a paycheck. She gives us oxygen. She gives us fresh water once the plants have filtered it out. She gives us oxygen, fresh water, nutrients with these nutrient cycles that we're talking about. These are all things that the Earth pays us with. That is like our paycheck. And I'm sorry, this is probably some of y'all sending me some reminds. Okay, so just ignore it. This is most definitely some of y'all. Okay, so natural capital is how my word, somebody's falling apart. Let me make sure nobody's falling apart. Okay. It's one of y'all. Okay, so natural capital is how the Earth pays or takes care of us. It's like our paycheck from the Earth where she is providing services. We call them ecosystem services, where she's helping us to survive and giving us a paycheck by allowing us to live. Natural capital. And when we start to tear up the Earth, she can't give us as much. They call it degrading the natural capital, because if we're tearing up the Earth, she can't give us as many resources. It's our own fault. All right, but that's we're going to pull into some of that in a minute. I'm going to talk some more as we get through. And again, life on Earth can be sustained by this third bullet, moving towards full cost pricing, like I was just telling you, and win-win situations. That means everybody gets good out of it so that they will continue. Okay, so the environment is just basically everything around us, living and non-living. So rocks and water count as part of your environment. Environmental science is the interdisciplinary study of how humans interact. There's aspects of environmental science that are sociology, psychology, biology, lots of ologies. All of these different ologies, chemistry even, all of these different sciences work together within environmental science. Environmental science pulls from just about all of these. And so they call it an interdisciplinary study of how humans interact with the environment. And so you see it draws on engineering and the natural sciences and the social sciences and even ethics. We get into ethics a lot, right? What's right and what's wrong. When I get to preaching, man, you just watch out. I'm going to get up on a soapbox this tall and I'm going to start preaching. There's a lot of ethics involved in environmental science. Environmentalism is the social movement that's dedicated to sustaining the Earth's life support system. So environmental science is actually the full-on science studying all the things and figuring out the details of how all of this stuff works. Environmentalism is more like a social movement when you need to get out and protest at the governor's house that he's building a nuclear site. You know, that kind of environmentalism is more like a social movement, but it's still dealing with the idea. Hang on, let me just mute this phone. You guys, y'all have a test tomorrow in real life right now as I'm recording this, so I'm having a lot of questions. And as promised, as soon as I finish this recording, I'll answer your questions. So I am going to mute the phone for just a second. I promise I'm not going to leave you hanging. for your test. Okay, so the goals of environmental science are to learn how the life on Earth has survived and thrived, and to understand how humans interact with the environment, and to find ways to deal with the environmental problems and to live more sustainably. These are going to be real important for you. There's 3 goals of environmental science. They're easy, right? We want to learn how the life on Earth has survived and thrived. We want to understand how the humans interact with the environment, and we want to find ways to deal with environmental problems to live more sustainably on into many generations. The environmental science and ecology should not be confused with environmentalism. I kind of went over it just a second ago. Environmentalism is not a scientific field of study, but a social movement dedicated to protecting the Earth. The environmentalism is practiced more in the realms of politics and ethics. So like I said, this is where you get out and you picket in front of the governor's office so he won't build a nuclear site. This is like politics. But the two are very, very related, because the finding of the environmental sciences are what's going to provide evidence and backup for the environmentalists. Okay, so they are very related, but they are 2 separate things. Oh, dang it, I keep clicking the wrong button to pass the slides. Okay, so the scientific factors of sustainability, what do we need from science? Is we need solar energy is one of the main aspects. It supplies nutrients directly or indirectly. Everything comes from the sun. All nutrients and all energy forms come from the sun, ultimately. Biodiversity is going to provide those ecosystem services and adaptability. If there is some catastrophe, and every time that there's ever been a catastrophe, like asteroid strikes and stuff where almost everything gets gone extinct at one time, it's the idea of biodiversity that allows life to come back after any kind of catastrophe, or even if it's just like a forest fire. Nothing just globally catastrophic, but even just locally, little forest fire or big forest fire, it'll be biodiversity that allows the animals animals and plants to recover. Nutrient cycling, like I said, is those life-giving nutrients, carbon dioxide, water, nitrogen, and phosphorus. Those are the main ones. But the nutrient cycling is how we get those nutrients that we can't live without. They're all, we have a whole, if not a whole chapter, at least several sections coming up, not chapter 1, but maybe 2 or 3 with nutrient cycling. We'll get into those details. So let me go back a slide. These are the scientific factors of sustainability. These are the social factors of sustainability. The economics, the full cost pricing, and the fact that environmental health costs of producing goods and services. The political science, trying to find win-win solutions so that we can continue. I mean, if both sides win, then it's something that we can keep working with. And then ethics, of course, is the responsibility to protect the Earth for future generations. So on your book, you have the 2 things I just talked about. So here's the scientific factors of sustainability spelled out for you, and here's the social factors of sustainability spelled out for you. And if I remember right, I might have put these 2 slides on your notes. All right, so make sure you understand all of these. You'll have to reread them and go through them. All right, so natural capital and natural resources and ecosystem services. So I've talked about these 3 things, and you may not have ever heard about them before. So, and I gave you a little bit of an idea of what they are. Natural capital, like I said, is how the Earth pays us, how she takes care of us. And she uses these 2 things to do so. She uses the natural resources and her ecosystem services to provide capital for us, natural capital. Those are our paychecks. So the natural resources, of course, are the food and the food and the nutrients that we have. The ecosystem services are the filtering water, the nutrient cycles. She uses both of these together to build up our natural capital. The natural resources were natural materials and energy sources that are essential and useful to human, like the inexhaustible or renewable or non-renewable resources. All right, so the natural resources she gives us, this is where, I'm sorry guys, it's been a really long day. I've actually lectured to you guys all day long today, and now I'm recording, so forgive me that it's a little wonky. All right, so let's start this slide again. Okay, so the natural resources, you've learned about them before. The inexhaustible we've never heard of before, but renewable and non-renewable, right? You know that that's the coal, oil, and natural gas are non-renewable, and solar and wind and water are renewable. The inexhaustible is solar. Okay, that's why that one's so much better than the others. It's inexhaustible. Yes, the sun will burn out in 5 billion years, but for all intents and purposes, it's inexhaustible. The ecosystem services are like the natural services provided by the health systems to support life and economies. Water filtration, oxygen and carbon dioxide cycling. All right, those are the ecosystem services. So by adding the natural resources and the ecosystem services, we get our natural capital, which is our paycheck from the earth, how we survive. And here are the examples of the ecosystem services, like I just said: nutrient cycling, purification of air, renewal of the topsoil. Okay, that's going to be important, where some of the rocks break down and the plants decompose, and so we can get more and more topsoil. As the plants die, they build back up the topsoil. The decomposers help us with that. Pollination, pest control. These are all ecosystem services that the... What? Even though I've turned it off, it's still buzzing. Okay, so the nutrient cycling as an ecosystem services, the vital ecosystem services that affects all of the other services, is nutrient cycling. All right, so it's going to affect everything else. Without the nutrient cycling in topsoil, you wouldn't have plants, you wouldn't have pollinators, or any other ecosystem services, because all the plants and animals would be dead if you couldn't keep the nutrients in the soil. The plants have to have it. All right, and no humans or other land animals would exist. Nutrient cycling, one of the main ingredients, one of the main cycles is nitrogen. Every single strand of DNA has molecule after molecule after molecule of, I'm not saying the words right, biology is getting fuzzy, but remember how the DNA ladders work? Okay, you've got the nitrogen, DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, and the nitrogen is one of the main parts of the ladder bases. Okay, so yeah, so think about the ladder bases in DNA and remember how big DNA strands are. Every one of those ladders has nitrogen in it on both sides. So without the nitrogen, there wouldn't be any DNA, so there wouldn't be anything. If we couldn't recycle the nitrogen, after one thing dies, it has to get decomposed and made available for the next thing to live, the next generation. So without the absence of nutrient cycling in the topsoil, it would disrupt every ecosystem service, even purifying air and water and all of them. And then without solar energy, the earth would be without all of this stuff. Okay, so the nutrient cycling that supports so many ecosystems is also powered directly or indirectly by the sun. So humankind and its economies are going to depend on the Earth-Sun system for the natural capital. So this gives kind of a picture overview of the kind of things that I've talked about. Okay, so within the air, see, these are the natural resources and these are the ecosystem services. So blue is a resource, orange is an ecosystem services. So within the air, you have air purification, climate control, UV protection because of the ozone layer. These are all ecosystem services that the earth provides for us. Within the water, you have water purification and treatment. I'm not talking about the plants we made, the water treatment plants. I'm talking about the actual plants on earth will do this for us. And then the non-renewable minerals like iron and sand and oil, those are still resources from the earth. All right? The fossil fuels here. And in soil, that's another resource that we have. So the soil renewal is an ecosystem service that the earth provides for us. Renewable energies like the earth and sun and wind as it flows through there. Biodiversity of life. The ecosystem services are population control and pest control. If you leave the earth alone, you know, one will eat the other, survival of the fittest. There will be population control and pest control just naturally within the earth if we let it roll, if we stop messing around. And then within the land, you have food production and nutrient recycling. Those are two more ecosystem services that the earth provides. So take a look at this picture and kind of wrap it around your head. Which parts of these are natural resources and what ecosystem services go with those resources? So if the earth can give us capital, natural capital, I said it's like our paycheck, there are a lot of things we can do to make our own paycheck less. It's like we're cutting our own paycheck. The earth is trying to do all of these wonderful things for us. She's trying to give us all this natural capital by taking care of us. But we are doing things that are cutting our own paycheck. They call it by degrading natural capital. Okay, so we're basically cutting our own paycheck because she can't give us as much as she would have wanted to because we're doing crap. All right, so using renewable resources faster than nature can restore them by overloading the natural resources with pollution and waste. Both of those things are going to keep the earth from giving us as much as she can. So we're degrading our own natural capital. We're cutting our own paycheck. Some solutions that could help it, scientific and economic and political solutions. If we can find, these are all those these win-win solutions with trade-offs and compromises. If we can figure this out, we can help to allow the earth to give us more. And so we have to have daily and individual and local contributions. They all matter. All right, so you want to think that, oh, well, I'm just one little person. I can't do anything to change. Yes, you can. Every single bottle in that ocean was dropped by one little person. Yes, you can make changes. All right, so this is going to also happen at the end of each section. It's called a quick check, and I'm pretty sure it's in your notes. All of these are false statements. I need you to correct them. No, it's not in your notes. It's going to be on a separate worksheet. That's fine. All right, so they're all false, so give me correct answers. All right, and I think that is, yes, that's the end of our slide. So, I wish I hadn't turned it black on you there. But in any case, that's the end of section 1. It was confused and a little convoluted for parts. You might want to watch it more than once. But if you've filled out the notes along with the PowerPoint, just the plain one that you went really slow. So you basically have an overview of what we've read. Listen to how I'm explaining it. And since it came out a little garbled, you might want to watch it twice. And I'm sorry, but I'm exhausted. Okay, I've been teaching all day and I graded all last night. So I did the best I could. But watch it again, and that should help you understand section 1. And then we're going to repeat this. Within section 1, there's a couple of worksheets you'll be doing, and I'll attach them in Schoolology with the section 1 material. And then we'll move on to section 2. Okay, bye everybody. I'll talk to you the next time.